Welcome to Writers Talk About Stuff, where writers talk about stuff. Today, a cyber thriller from a cyber expert, Vance Gloster. I'm Scott Coon, author of Lost Helix. When DJ's dad goes missing, DJ uses his hacker skills to escape his remote asteroid colony, and the corporate agents coming for the criminal evidence hidden in the hard drive of his electric guitar. Today I'll be talking to Vance Gloster, author of Two-Thirds of a God. He's also a musician. He was a data systems engineer for supporting the space shuttle, and he helped create an artificial intelligence programming language. So he knows a few things about cyber. And so tell me about your book, Two-Thirds of a God. Go ahead.
Well, Eleanor Burton leads the development team for the soon-to-be deployed OrbitNet system. It's a satellite-based new version of the internet. But as she's getting ready to deploy it, she's diagnosed with a fatal disease and she only has 2 months to live. She becomes the guinea pig for a deep scanning brain experiment. And so this is intended to be able to produce a virtual human.
Really?
Then the virtual human version of Eleanor wakes up a year later on the primary satellite in the OrbitNet system. A message has been left by Eleanor to tell her that, first of all, she is not supposed to be there. Eleanor didn't get any permission or anything. She's a rogue program running on this computer system. But she does have some resources. She has all the data of the internet flowing through the satellite, and she has access to it all. So she's essentially omnipotent.
Okay. The
satellite is designed to last for a long time, and it'll run kind of as long as there's satellite to power the solar cells. So she's basically immortal, but because she needs to stay hidden so she doesn't get deleted, she's not all powerful. So that's where the title of the book comes from, Two-Thirds of a God. She's omniscient, immortal, but not omnipotent. Those are kind of the three powers of a god.
All right. So she's got the limits of, what the satellite allows her to do. So yes. This turns into a thriller.
It does. It does. Over time, she discovers a global conspiracy involving the satellites. And the question is, can she save her family, who is threatened, and defeat this global conspiracy?
Oh, very, very cool. All right. And so tell me, tell me about your career prior to this and how it fit into writing the book.
Well, working in AI, we worked with a number of AI technologies, but kind of the most interesting one is called neural networks.
Okay.
It's what the current large language models are based on, neural networks. And the way they created it was to make kind of a model of how the neurons in a human brain work.
Okay.
And so today, even with the large language models, they have many orders of magnitude fewer neurons than your brain and mine have. So I thought about what happens when you scale that up to where you can get a similar number of neurons to what a human brain has, decades from now. The other technology I was really interested in was when I worked out at Edwards Air Force Base. One of the things I worked with was orbital mechanics, dealing with the math of how satellites work and everything, how their orbits function. So it was fun to go ahead and play with that again. And I did the math, kind of figuring out to make sure that what happens in the book would not offend someone who kind of knows how these things work.
So you did the technical backstory and the math on it and made sure that the book was actually hitting the mark.
It was at least plausible.
All right. Yeah. So the giant data centers that we have right now, are they anything like the kind of artificial intelligence that you were just talking about, or is that something completely different?
It's something completely different. My book has kind of two kinds of artificial intelligence. One is the virtual human, that's artificial because it isn't a human, it isn't a biological. But then there's also an AI that has arisen. And this kind of builds on an idea that Ray Kurzweil came up with. A couple of decades ago, he wrote a book called The Singularity, where he looked at this idea of when you take computing power and scale it into the future, so what interesting things start to happen. And one of them he posited is that an intelligence can just arise from the complexity of a much bigger and more complicated system.
So you worked on orbital systems, and you took what you knew about artificial intelligence and you put it in orbit.
Yes.
And so how big did this satellite have to be in order for it to house a human brain?
Well,
And that was hiding from the rest of the satellite, by the way.
Yes. Well, I'm one of the things in the novel is that I've posited that there's a big advance in the density of storage. So the storage can be much smaller than it would be today for the same amount of storage. So it doesn't have to be huge, but it has to have enough compute power to go ahead and model all these millions and billions of neurons that you would have in a human brain. So, but it's got so much going on the system that it flies kind of under the radar. That with all these other things happening, they don't notice that it's actually
Just
going on.
lost in the traffic.
Yes.
So are there any novels that helped inspire this book and made you want to write it?
I grew up reading all the classic science fiction writers, Asimov, Bradbury, Clark, Harlan Ellison, Keith Laumer, and one of your favorites, Kurt Vonnegut Jr.
My favorite, yes.
Read all those, but the one that really spoke to me was when William Gibson came along in the 1980s. He's best known for his first novel, Neuromancer, which sort of invented the genre of cyberpunk. He took the idea, he got rid of all of the ideas that are the normal tropes of science fiction. He doesn't do space opera, he doesn't do aliens, he doesn't do time travel. Instead, he took the technology of the time and just ran it forward to see where it would lead, which I thought was more interesting. I've tried to do something similar. Of course, I'm doing different technologies than he focused on in his books, but that seemed to be a good thing to do. Also, the other thing I was trying to do was kind of in reaction to other science fiction novels, is I noticed that when they have an AI or something like that, it's normally the antagonist, the thing the good guys are fighting against. I thought it would be much more interesting to put the whole thing from the perspective of the artificial intelligence. So in my book, The Virtual Human, most of the story is told from her perspective.
So you just flip the matrix around, and the one under attack is the robots. Kind of like the earlier history of the Matrix, but anyway, I digress.
Yes.
So, any other books?
Well, yeah, I'm a big fan of Gibson, and of course there are some others that have kind of done something similar, but I think my take is a little bit different. I think that Gibson's later books, even though they're not as well known, are actually even written better than his early ones.
Oh, very cool. You got anything that you would recommend? Like, if somebody was going to read just one of his books to start with, which one would you recommend?
It's called Pattern Recognition. That's my favorite book of his. Though certainly Neuromancer is a good one to read as well.
Oh, very cool. So now another thing, in addition to writing novels, which he's doing right now, of course, Vance is a musician. So tell me about your life as a musician.
Yeah, I've been playing in bands and everything for decades. And I currently play in the band Bomber Goggles. We're currently recording our second album.
Okay.
And so that's going on, and I've played keyboards and sometimes guitar on a bunch of different albums, various bands. Sometimes they were bands I was actually writing music for, and sometimes they're other people's bands. Gekko Projekt is a band that I was in before, and Peter Matushniak and I, the guitar player for Gekko Projekt and Bomber Goggles, and I have worked together for a long time. He is such a good guitar player, I never played guitar in the band. But I really enjoy working with Peter and with Steve Bonino, who's our other partner in Bomber Goggles.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, my book, your book has no music in it at all. You're the musician. My book has a big part of music, so much music in it that he's got his guitar on his back. I don't know how you'd feel about this, but I actually invented a new guitar for this book. It's called a stringless guitar. Where strings would be, there's a laser. So where you strum is a laser, and then all the struts are replaced by buttons and slides. So it's kind of like a futuristic version of the Rock Band guitar, for those of you who remember the Rock Band craze. I definitely do.
There was actually a guitar that they made that was like that
Oh, really?
In the 80s and 90s, called the Synthax.
Oh,
And
really?
Yes. It was not widely embraced by guitarists, but some guitarists did play it.
So it had lasers for strings?
It didn't have lasers, but it had sensors rather than strings.
That's interesting. So did it sound like a regular guitar?
Well, the point was that you could make any sound you wanted. It would create a stream of MIDI, and you could create guitar sounds, but you could create any other kind of sound.
Yes, sounds a lot like my guitar, except mine's lasers. So, but you were telling me before we started today that you were at an elementary school today. Tell me about all that, how that came to be, and what you were talking about.
Well, they are really into the STEAM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, art, and, and so merging all those together as a way forward to get kids prepared for the world that's coming. And they invited me to come in since I kind of covered some of those things. So I talked both about my career in technology and about being an author. And so the kids got to do a little writing exercise about creating a story about discovering a new planet.
Oh, very cool.
So that was a lot of fun. I did 3 sessions. One was for the pre-K kids, and then there was one for the 1st through 3rd grades, and then the final session was 4th through 6th.
Oh, very nice. So how long was that today?
Each session was about 15, 20 minutes of me talking with the kids, and then they went on to work with their projects. So I was there for a couple of hours.
That's very cool. It's great that you're giving back to kids like that.
It was fun to do, and if I was always inspired by science fiction to even embark on a tech career in the first place, and so I'm hoping with my books I can inspire other people to do something similar.
Now, I haven't done anything like that, but I am actually published in the STEAM journal at Claremont University. I have one paper that they published from me. I think maybe they didn't know I never went to Claremont, and they published my work anyway. And it was called Jack of All Trades, Master of Science Fiction. You can actually go there if you have access to it and download it. And every once in a while I get an email from them that somebody around the world has downloaded this thing that basically be telling you that if you're going to be a writer, especially a science fiction writer, you need to get involved in like everything. You need to be intellectually curious on a ravenous scale. And the more you know, the more you can write about. The more you know about history, the more you can make up a future history. So that's what that's about.
Well, I am an author of an IEEE paper as well, that was involved in some of the work I did for the military. So.
Oh, very cool. What's an IEEE paper?
Well, the IEEE is the International Engineering Organization.
Okay.
And they have a repository of papers that they do, and so this was about, I believe it was about using GPS in tracking and knowing, for an aircraft to know where it was, and doing, the old way that they did it was with inertial navigation, using inertia, measuring inertial pressures to figure out where it was. And this was a paper about augmenting that with GPS and knowing better where you were, better than either system by itself.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that's going to be right over my head, I bet, but very interesting nonetheless. And we're both programmers, and there's something we have in common when it comes to our programming and putting it into actually a couple things, putting it into writing. And one of them is our naming conventions. We've talked about this at a panel before. You named your two characters that...
ELE and LNX.
Yes.
And this is, programmers are very lazy.
So lazy.
So they want to do something where they have to type the fewest characters possible. So anything that they're going to be doing a lot of runs on, they will give it a very short name. Most of the two-letter names are already taken in computer systems, in the Unix-based computer systems. They are already taken, so you default to using a three-letter name.
Mm-hmm. I have a couple of those at my job, or at least I used to. Yeah, and because I'm generally lazy, or at least I was more lazy back when I wrote Lost Helix, the main character's name is DJ, because I knew I was going to have to write DJ 1,000 times in there. Yeah, and his friend is Paul, so it averages out the 3 letters.
Well, very good.
Heck, even Maya, the girl in the book, has a short name. I get into longer names in my later books. So anyway, do you have any... the other thing that we have in common is we try to make computer action in our books not boring, but also not lame. I tried to build suspense around mine. I know that you had some stuff going on in that kept me on my toes when I was reading it. You didn't lose me at all.
Good, good. I'm glad. I tried to do this balance where people who are serious computer people will recognize things in it. For instance, Unix commands that they would use in their everyday work. They will recognize that stuff in there. But I tried not to make it where it was overwhelming the technology for people who are less interested in that.
Yeah, and I made it to where when DJ has a technical hacker battle with somebody, it's kind of really important that he wins because there's an actual physical battle going on while he's having the hacker battle. Either that or he's trying to do something that if somebody walks in on them, they're in a lot of trouble. So that's how I keep it a little bit more interesting. And one thing I really hated was back in the 90s, there was a slew of movies that made hacking look like you're playing Pac-Man or something. And I just want to let you all know that's not how hacking works at all.
No, at one point I worked on Norton Antivirus.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And we were working on tools to prevent hacking. And so we had an exercise where all of us tried to hack each other and explored all the techniques that were available at the time. And it's interesting. It's much harder than people give it credit for. You really need to fool someone into doing something they shouldn't.
Yes.
And so that's really where the skill in hacking is.
Yeah, I'm a computer programmer now, and my company likes to keep me on my toes in that particular area, constantly sending me fake phishing stuff and scam emails. And I've had to, on more than one occasions, text my boss and go, I'm going to report this as phishing. He's like, yeah, report that as phishing. and then a message pops up. Congratulations, you identified our phishing test. It's like, dude, stop interrupting my day.
But I imagine there are people who work with you for whom that is a good exercise.
Yeah, it is a good exercise. And to be honest, it is good training for me too. So, do you have a sequel planned for 2/3 of a Guide?
I do. The plan is to do a 3-book series. The first chapter of the next book is in this book. So the next book is called 3 Lesser Gods. And then the final one is the Council of the Gods.
All right.
So I'm working on that. I'm hoping to get it out, but it probably won't come out until next year.
All right. You got anything else going on?
Nothing at the moment. I'm just trying to get that out.
Just trying to get that book out? Yeah, it's not easy to write a whole novel, and I just went through my first self-publishing, and nothing about that is easy at all.
It's not. It's not. There's a lot of work that goes on into it. My situation with it is I actually have too many plot lines in it, so I need to cut some of them out and kind of figure out how to do that.
Yeah, yeah, I've been there too. In fact, I got a whole novel that was about vampires in space that got shelved a long time ago, and if I ever pick it up again, I need to pick just one or two of the plot lines. So I understand that completely. All right, well, Vance, thank you for being here today, and I hope you enjoyed our little talk.
I did. Thank you for having me.
All right, well, everybody get out there and get a copy of Two-Thirds of a God. It's available on Amazon.
Yes,
And
and Ingram Spark as well.
and on Ingram Spark. All right, this has been Writers Talk About Stuff, where we talk about stuff and we talked about stuff. All right, thank you very much, sir.